Kenya's President William Ruto has voiced his endorsement for the efforts of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, to reinstate Niger's ousted president, Mohamed Bazoum. During a joint press briefing held in Maputo with Mozambican President Filipe Nyusi, Ruto condemned the ongoing conflicts in countries like Niger, Sudan, and Ethiopia. He emphasized that any African government that seizes power undemocratically will face expulsion from the African Union.
And it is the same case, Your Excellency. In Niger, our collective position is that we support ECOWAS and the interventions that they are putting in place to make sure that we avoid and resist the slide into military dictatorships and unconstitutional removal of governments. Whatever means necessary that should be used to make sure that these democratic processes are sustained and maintained and protected should be brought to bear to stop those who want to use the barrel of the gun to run the affairs of countries or to manage the issues of our continent.
Hello and welcome to the Africa News Network. This declaration has surprised and disappointed many observers due to Ruto's consistent advocacy for African unity and stability among all African countries. Since assuming office last year, Dr. Ruto has gained global attention, especially across Africa, for his pan-African and anti-imperialist stance. Some experts have even likened him to past pan-African figures like Ghana's founding father, Kwame Nkrumah, and Libya's late president, Colonel Muammar Gaddafi. ECOWAS has convened an emergency summit in Nigeria to deliberate on strategies for what they call reinstating constitutional order in Niger. However, the new Niger junta government has resisted ECOWAS's US and EU-backed demands to restore Bazoum. Burkina Faso and Mali, neighboring countries with military governments, have pledged support for the new Niger junta government and asserted that any aggression against Niger would be considered an attack on them. While coups have negative connotations, the recent ones in Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso are widely perceived by many Africans as efforts to remove corrupt and subservient African governments that have facilitated the exploitation and plundering of Africa's mineral resources, often by France. It's important to note that former French colonies experience high political instability and widespread poverty despite possessing vast reserves of natural resources. For many years, Francophone African nations, which were compelled to sign the Pact for the Continuation of Slavery upon gaining independence, have witnessed the exploitation and theft of their mineral wealth by France, including crucial resources like uranium used not only in the creation of nuclear weapons, but also in the production of nuclear energy. This exploitation continues while the African Union, United Nations, and the global community overlook the issue. Shockingly, as of 2023, 14 African countries are obligated, through the colonial pact system, to deposit over 50% of their foreign reserves into the French Central Bank under the control of the French Minister of Finance. And yes, France siphons $500 billion from these African countries annually. Nigeria is spearheading the push to intervene in Niger. Nevertheless, numerous Nigerians express concerns that President Bola Tinubu might be steering Nigeria toward war, even as parts of the country, particularly the north, have grappled with war and the menacing Boko Haram insurgency for around 13 years. They argue that this isn't the right time for Nigeria to engage in conflict. Is it possible that Tinubu is experiencing pressure from European and American interests to guarantee the continuity of the Nigerian gas pipeline, which traverses Niger and extends into Europe, potentially leading him to sacrifice Niger? This pipeline is intended to substitute the Russian Nord Stream pipeline, which was destroyed under mysterious circumstances. While some Francophone African nations strive to break free from neocolonialism imposed by France, ECOWAS, and the AU seem to hinder progress, inadvertently supporting and perpetuating the exploitation by France through greed and corruption by African leaders acting not in the best interest of their people, but on behalf of external powers and their own pockets. President Ruto's endorsement of an invasion of Niger appears contradictory to the very cause he professes to champion, a unified, peaceful Africa devoid of strife. Instead of advocating for military intervention, Ruto should call for diplomatic resolutions, as military involvement would likely result in violence, loss of life, property damage, and unintended outcomes. Could President Ruto's stance stem from his apprehension that the fate experienced by Bazoum might befall him, given the recent riots and turmoil in Kenya? Please don't hesitate to express your thoughts in the comments section below. Are you in agreement with President Ruto's statements, or do you maintain an alternative perspective? Is the imminent military assault on Niger supported by the US and Europe justified?